15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake of fact, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here, now your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. I am really excited about tonight's episode. As always, we are approaching the season. It's coming up. Before you know it, it'll be September 11th. The Bills taking on the New York Jets, who just debuted their first episode last night on HBO's Hard Knocks. So listen, this is the fun time of the year, man. This is when expectations start to get ramped up. This is when everybody's 0-0, and you get an opportunity to really see where your team stands, and I cannot wait for it personally. Tonight, we are going to break down the good old American Football Conference. We had a blast these last couple weeks breaking down the offense and defense. Again, shout out to Justice General Radford over at the Buffalo FAMBase podcast network that we simulcast on. I appreciate him being on for the offense. And then me and DT held down the defense last week and kind of went over position by position from the trenches on out. And we got some good reviews from that, those last two episodes. So I'm really excited about tonight's episode. We are going to break down the conference. Who will represent the American Football Conference in Super Bowl 58? We'll try to maybe unpack a few things tonight and give you a better idea. As always, joining me tonight, my co-host, Adam Dumptruck Rupsick. You could check him on Instagram at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. Holla at the crew, DT. What's good? What's good, DT? We gonna break down the AFC tonight. What's up?
What's up, Rob? Yep, the Beast Conference. They should change the name to the Beast Conference. We'll dig in and looking forward to it. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough to represent them. Whoever represents them in the Super Bowl this year is definitely going to earn it, Rob. So excited to get into it. Excited to get rolling. We're 1 week closer. We got preseason coming this week, and we've been texting, click, clack, baby. It's time. The heat's there. The boys were a little fired up in camp this week. It's getting a little hot, physical.
Yeah.
You know, they're ready to hit somebody else.
Seeing the same faces. Yeah.
Let's roll, baby. Let's roll. Let's break it down.
I love it. I love it. Joining us tonight, again, another content creator here on the Buffalo FAMBase Podcast Network. I'm really pleased to have back Ryan Thomas because, listen, he had some network issues the first time. We are not going to have any network issues tonight. He's logged in. He's plugged in with his cell phone. Check him out on Twitter, Instagram, Ryan Thomas. Holla at the crew, Ryan. I mean, we are so happy to have you back, man. I mean, we wanted to chop it up with you, man, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy night, man.
Oh, I really appreciate you guys having me on. As you said, a lot of network issues the last time, but the hardest working man in Western New York, outside of any of these Buffalo Bills players, is yours truly. Driving home from a long day at the office, and what better way to start my night than hop on with you guys and dive into the Beast Conference that is the AFC and AFC.
Yeah, the AFC
division and AFC.
It's crazy because, fellas, I've been really enjoying, listening to some of the rhetoric coming out. And I know I spoke about Hard Knocks and, a lot of everybody's 0-0. Everybody's feeling good about their team. There's no better time for optimism than right now before you even kick off the season. And the Buffalo Bills are they're no different. The Bills Mafia were no different. So we're enjoying it. And I know that everybody else has those different fan bases across the conference. But listen, the AFC has changed a lot, DT. things are not the same when it comes to this conference, and we will start right at home in our own division in the AFC East. But I mean, things have just changed, DT. Things have ratcheted up. Expectations are high for the Bills, for the Jets, for the Dolphins. Even the Patriots can try to tell you that they are boasting a great defense as well. So listen, when you look at this division, DT, I'm interested to know what you think about, because nothing really looks the same. I know, Miami was nipping on our heels, last year, and they were kind of, a little thorn in our side. We even lost to the Jets one week, and then Josh Allen got hurt. That kind of changed the trajectory of the season. How do you view this AFC East, DT? Because I'm interested to get your comments on it, because it's different, man. I watched the ESPN roundtable the other day, and there was a whole bunch of guys up there, Lou Riddick and all those guys were up there, and nobody picked the Bills. It was like, okay, no problem. And I wouldn't expect, Teddy Bruschi or those guys to pick the Bills, but boy, the entire panel was against the Bills, and it was just interesting to see, man. Things done changed, man. Like Biggie said, man, shit done changed, man.
Yeah, right. And we like that. We like that a little, as last year all the expectations were on us, and it didn't work out in our favor. But we're kind of, blessed, Rob, because of all those years of stinking, all those years through the drought.
Yeah.
We're never going to take this division for granted, And yeah, we've gotten the better of it the past couple of years, but kudos to the other three teams. They've done, significant work to make themselves better, I guess, other than the Patriots, if you will. But you still got Bill Belichick, who is, was almost darn near undefeated for 20 years against the Bills. So definitely, don't take anybody lightly. When we start to get into our season predictions, you're going to see probably a couple divisional losses. It's just the nature of the beast when you get rolling, and with these teams getting better and better. But like I said, and don't take them lightly. Don't take it for granted. As all those years we've never even sniffing winning the division. Now we've got it the past couple of years, but you go through each one of these teams. We'll start with the Patriots kind of being on the lower end of that, but still making significant upgrades to their defense, and bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster, nobody I'm extremely afraid of. But again, I'm never counting Bill Belichick and those Patriots out. You go
Too
to
many
the
nightmares.
Jets,
Too many nightmares.
Yep. As the Hard Knocks special comes out last night, they're definitely not important enough for me to stay up till 10 o'clock and watch these guys run around and play. We'll catch it on the record tonight and really see how good it is. But a team that has been building that young roster up year after year, and they got some good offensive weapons. They've always had solid defense. Now they got Sauce Gardner in, who we'll get into the preview with the Bills Jets as we go, but Sauce Gardner has only had easy games against the Bills, so I think 17's bound to change that up this year. But good roster all the way around, and you get Aaron Rodgers coming in. That's really the biggest change to that team is now was 12, number 8 coming in and being under center for him. So it's going to be a heck of an opening night. I like that spread's nice and tight. It's one of my most confident picks of the year for the Bills. But again, all stuff we'll get into as we roll. And then the Dolphins turning into they were on the grow up, Rob. I know you were kind of on the same boat. Squish the fish, hate the Fins, man. That was the biggest division rival. It kind of changed to the Patriots, because that was Tom Brady and the Patriots. You knew it was a loss every time. And then in college, for me, it changed. All those downstate kids. No offense, I have a lot of good friends from Long Island and everywhere down there, but. Those Mark Sanchez jerseys in the dining hall and just the loud, and I was like, all set on the Jets now. But we're circling back to squish the fish and hating the Dolphins. They're kind of running their mouths a little bit. Another good roster, but a quarterback that really can't stay healthy, but some strong weapons on the offensive end. So don't take this division, lightly, but I think we're not, because we've had so many years of not even being close to winning it. Yeah, we've got them a couple years, but I mean, come on, we're still the favorite. Let's go. But it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, talk to us, because it'll be interesting to see, what this team does in respects to the division, because, things have changed so much. DT spoke to a little bit of it, but, nobody is really standing pat. I don't, even with the Patriots themselves, Ryan, they brought back Bill O'Brien. They made sure that they, answered that debacle last year with, Patricia and Judge running the offense, and everybody's making fun of them and that type of stuff. So listen, no team in our division stood pat. No team just rested on their laurels, so to speak. Everybody kind of looked at themselves in the mirror and kind of made some changes. I mean, you see the Dolphins bringing in Jalen Ramsey. Obviously, they feel bad that he went down with an injury, but even on their side of the ball, I mean, they went and got Vic Fangio, a experienced defensive coordinator. So, Ryan, speak to me about this division and some of the things that you're seeing, because when I, do the 10,000, 30,000 foot view of the AFC East, it just looks a lot different, Ryan. It looks a lot different, Mr. Thomas.
It does. And Rob, you made a really good point that it does look different when you talk about the Dolphins and the Jets and the Patriots. They've looked a lot different, obviously, these last few years, moving on from Tom Brady, and they're still trying to find their footing coming out of that whole era, which, we don't want to say it, but it was one of the greatest runs that any team has ever had. Yep. But the Dolphins trying to adjust, and they have a ton of talent. The Jets bringing Aaron Rodgers, that's a power move, right? Anytime you bring a former MVP. But the one thing, Rob, that is a constant is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, if in my opinion, if you look at the Bills, they're very, very similar to how they've been, and I like the fact most of the teams that have had success in the NFL, New England included, were so successful because they had that continuity from the top down, whether it was, GM, head coach, quarterback. Right. Josh Allen's played in pretty much the same offense the majority of his career, even going from Dable to Dorsey. There's a lot of aspects that are still Dable-esque, as we saw last year. So I feel really confident that, the Buffalo Bills have an advantage over those three teams that are still kind of soul-searching, still trying to find their identity, whereas the Buffalo Bills already know who they are, and that's such a huge advantage over the opposition within the division that leads me to believe that it's really Buffalo's division to win, and you could look at it on the flip side of the coin, really Buffalo's division to lose as well, with the pressure really being on them as the favorite, in my opinion, to win that division.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're kind of leading me in and stealing some of my notes, Ryan, because one of the things that I've been hearing persistently, DT, on WGR, and I want you to speak to this. I've been, you guys all know Nickel City Crew. I'm an avid WGR listener. It's in the background almost throughout my entire day. It's in the background, even if I'm not listening to it intently, but it's always hanging around. I have heard a lot of people suggest, DT, that the Bills and fans are talking about, well, the target's kind of off of our back, and now we're back to being the hunter instead of the hunted because, last year we were the Super Bowl favorites. And I reject all of those rhetorics. I reject all of those narratives. And I can explain why, DT. I don't buy the fact that we're not the hunted anymore. The bullseye is still squarely on the Buffalo Bills. Everybody knows about Josh Allen now. He's a superstar. He's going to be on the cover of Madden that everybody's getting ready to purchase next week if you haven't already pre-purchased it. Everything about the Buffalo Bills, the DeMar Hamlin situation, we're front and center. And then you got, the Stephon Diggs little mini drama, fake drama this offseason. People are paying attention to the Bills. The other teams in this division, the other teams in this conference are paying attention to the Buffalo Bills. I think it's something that a lot of times Buffalo Bills fans, we like to say, because it makes us feel a little bit better at night, if that makes any sense. That, okay, we're not the hunted anymore. We're going to go back to being the hunter. We're going to go back to being the underdog. And I just don't believe that the Bills view themselves that way. Most importantly, I don't think that they are in a situation where they think that they are, less than, or that they think that they are going to get an easy road. I think that everybody is aiming for the Bills, and I think it's the same way that it's been, just like it was last year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at the division itself as we're breaking that down. The Dolphins got us in the early part of the season barely, and it took a force of nature for it to happen, or else the Bills would have blanked them. They were granted close games, all three of them against the Dolphins, but Bills banked them 3-0. They beat them two games the year before and 2 games the year before. And Josh Allen, they talk of Dolphins is his kid. Yeah, he's their dad. So, the Dolphins definitely coming out and they got to beat the Bills. All these teams know they have to beat the Bills to get through the playoffs and get to the division. The Jets, had the fluke with Josh Allen getting hurt, and then they come back to Buffalo, and it wasn't a clean game, but Buffalo handled them pretty well. And the Patriots have been light work, since Tom Brady left. Let's be honest. And as Bill Belichick coming in for a team every week, he knew he was going to crush the Bills. Now he can't figure out a way to beat them. So that's got to be keeping a legendary coach like that up at night as well. So in the division itself, I think that goes right to your point, Rob, of strong. Like they're gunning for 17. They're gunning for the Bills because they can't beat them. Like, yeah, a couple regular seasons, but where are these teams? The Dolphins had the 7 straight wins or whatever, and then barely made the playoffs. Bills got them, and with plenty of other ways. Jets didn't make the playoffs. Patriots haven't sniffed the playoffs. So they know they have to get to 17. I agree, and I'll be a victim of that as well. I kind of like, we're not the favorites anymore. That's good. I like that. I like being the underdog, if you will. But we're far from the underdog. I mean, 17's hung it on plenty of people to be an underdog until they get their revenge. So I like that point. I'm with that. I think the targets on the back, especially in this division, because you got to get through these boys to make it through, and the Bills have proved dominance in that. A couple plays away from being over for the past couple of years for all 3 of these teams.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Thomas, if you don't mind breaking it down for me and let me know that I'm not crazy. If I am crazy, call me out on it. We keep it real here at Nickel City Crew. I hear it all the time on WGR. It's almost a daily rhetoric of, callers will call in and, I'm just so happy that the Bills are back to being the underdogs. And I'm just so happy that we're not the Super Bowl favorites. And we got that, bullseye off our back. And I just don't buy it. I think that this is professional sports. I think that we are one of the best teams in the NFL. I think other teams recognize it. And I definitely think that when the Bills go to One Bills Drive every day, they go to Adport Sportsplex and they get ready to clock in to go to work and they do their practice, they don't view themselves as an underdog. They understand that people are gunning for them, in my opinion.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head, Rob. And I think we can even go to recent comments that were made by Deion Dawkins. He said, "We are our favorite. We are our own favorite."
Mm-hmm.
So
very nice. Yes.
Right. Everyone in that locker room believes that they can get it done, and everyone in that locker room, like I said, most of these guys have been there, so they've been there through these last few years where they've knocked on the door, they just haven't kicked it down yet, and they're just waiting for that. Hopefully this is the year that they finally get sick of knocking on that door, and I think they are sick of knocking on that door, and they're ready to kick it down finally. And obviously getting through the division is the most important step to not only making the playoffs, but getting a home playoff game back again in Buffalo, and as many home playoff games as possible, getting that 1 seed. That's like the checklist of each team. It should be. I mean, in terms of winning the division, trying to get that 1 seed, putting yourself at least in the position to have a home playoff game, at least one of them, and then, obviously winning those games and getting to the Super Bowl. And the task at hand, it's an uphill climb each and every season, but I feel like the players are more aware now of who they are than they've ever been. And dare I say it, with all the offseason talk that there has been on the Bills, they might be an even better team on paper than they were last year with the offseason that Brandon Beane put together this past offseason. So interesting times are ahead this football season for the Buffalo Bills.
And I'll go off that quick. I mean, 13-3 last year with pretty much unanimous. Like you asked that same roundtable at ESPN, Rob, that pretty much unanimous 13-3. This roster got better, and you look around the division, and is an old ass Aaron Rodgers the one addition to the Jets that takes them over the hump to beat the Bills? Is Vic Fangio and Jalen Ramsey, who's not even in anymore, is Vic Fangio the reason to beat the Bills? Is Belichick, because he's pissed, a reason to beat the Bills? Like, what have these other teams done? The Bills have done more than any of them, and they were 13-3 and got better. So, I back that all up.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I just wanted to kind of debunk some of that those myths that I've been hearing on WGR lately from the fan base, and just make sure, again, Nickel City Crew, we always keep things real here. We always want to make sure that everybody's keeping proper expectations. Do not expect your Bills to be some lowly puppies coming into the season thinking with their tail between their legs that they are somehow the underdog. They're the big dogs. They know that they're the big dogs, and everybody's gunning for them on the block, and they'll need to be prepared each and every week, because you are going to get the best from your opponents each and every week, because they're going to be ready. Now, as we shift to the AFC North, it looks like they're going to be playing the NFC West this year on the crossover games, and it's interesting looking at the North, fellas, because the North is like, it's been funny because it's almost like Cincinnati is like they're new money. I would describe, my father would call them new money. Like they were a bad season away from Zach Taylor getting fired. He comes off of 3 wins or whatever it was, 4 wins and a tie the previous season, and then they strike gold. one of the things about, going to the Super Bowl and representing your conference in the Super Bowl is that not only do you have to have talent, not only do you have to have injury luck, but you have to have overall good luck. Joe Burrow was beaten up that year that he got to the Super Bowl, and for whatever reason, the cards just fell the way that they did. Obviously, 13 seconds plays a role in that as well, and the Bills can lament that, and obviously the fans, as we do, we always lament that missed opportunity. But I mean, I look at the Bengals as new money, fellas. Ryan, talk to us about the Bengals, because I look at them as new money. Like, you were almost a bad season away from getting your coach fired. And then in addition to the fact you represent the conference in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, they put on a valiant effort, offensive line issues, different things like that with their team. Looks like they've tried to address them. I know that they picked up Orlando Brown, from Kansas City. But, I mean, I'm not sold that they're just ready to go. I know that, Joe Burrow's got a calf injury, but talk to us, Ryan. Everybody's talking about the Bengals and they're kind of putting them in. I'm ready to state my case for a couple other teams in that division that could, maybe start to stomp their feet and cause some trouble. Hit it, DT. I don't know if we still got Ryan. Hit it, DT.
Yeah. No, I think they're definitely the favorite in the upper echelon, but I would much rather be in the AFC East than this AFC North, Rob. There's way too many variables and questions where that could turn, a negative way if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and all these teams are under you. I mean, you're looking at a team of, finally Lamar Jackson gets paid. He's coming off. Right. He's got his money now. He's got to go earn it. You bring Odell, who has every time he's been on the field, he's been great, no matter drama or whatever. All 4 teams he's played on, he's been great on. And I don't see that changing. Zay Flowers is having a great camp. They went last year and got one of the best linebackers in football in Roquan Smith. And, this Ravens team has always been up there. Harbaugh knows how to win. You drop into the Steelers, a young team kind of coming through. Kenny Pickett's second year. You saw Josh Allen take off in his second year. I hope, Kenny Pickett doesn't have a Josh Allen breakout, but it's possible. George Pickens is looking like a beast. They got other receivers that can make it happen. And then on defensively, TJ Watt, one of the best, Minka Fitzpatrick, these rosters are stacked all the way to the Browns. Deshaun Watson, say what you want about him, but he's a very talented quarterback, going to come in very fluent, very comfortable. Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs, one of the best offensive lines. Their defense is stacked in all 3 levels, Pro Bowlers, all pros everywhere. I'm way more scared if I'm in the AFC North than I am as the Bills in the AFC East. I'll tell you that, Rob. I like it. Beat the Bengals up. That philosophy of it's not going to be easy for them, but it's anybody's division. Like you said, waiting in the brush, waiting in the grass. It's anybody's division. A ton of assets, a ton of scary teams. To play those teams each twice. I'd rather play the Jets, Dolphins, and Patriots than the Ravens, Steelers.
Yeah, man, the Ravens kind of scare me because they've got the new offensive coordinator. They've got a bunch of weapons in respects to Beckham and Zay Flowers, and they're trying to reshape their image, so to speak, in the image of Lamar, and let him kind of just sit back there and dish the ball out a little bit more. So I'm going to be interested to see how they kind of develop and see what happens with their offensive additions. And then Cleveland and Pittsburgh. One of the things about the AFC North, DT, is that's the bully division. You know what I mean? That's one of those divisions where that's the backyard, the backyard alley brawl where you better lace it up. You better have your mouth guard in because they're going to hit you. You know what I mean? They're going to hit you in the mouth, and those teams are not teams historically that are going to be backing down. I don't know about Deshaun Watson, what kind of things that he's going to be able to offer to the team. But I do know one thing about Deshaun Watson is that he's got plenty of weapons, Njoku and Cooper and, the running back, like you said, Chubbs, they've got different weapons on that team to make them formidable. As you hop back in, Ryan, we were talking about the AFC North and just trying to figure out, I'm not sure with Joe Burrow and his calf and different things like that. Listen, I'm not just going to just give this division to Cincinnati because of the fact that, again, one of my father, my father would say that they're kind of new money to me. They're a half step away from being homeless. So to me, I'm just not ready to give them the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. You with us, Ryan? We're going to try to reconnect with Ryan and see if he can't get back on. But I mean, it's interesting, DT, because you are there. Good. You're there. what you got for me with the AFC North, Brian?
Yep, I'm here. Yep, I apologize there for popping out for a sec here. Yeah, and in regards to the AFC North, I mean, it's a division that I look at Cincinnati as the favorite. I do, but that question looms over them in terms of Burrow's health. He's been banged up quite a lot over the years. They've also lost two major pieces to their team. Both starting safeties are now gone, and I think that's going to definitely hurt. It always does when you lose two major pieces to your defense, especially two guys that played alongside each other that were kind of like the mini Poyer and Hyde duo that was in Cincinnati there with Jesse Bates and company. And I really, the team that I think could be very good in that division this year is actually the Baltimore Ravens, a team that I think they've added a lot. This is probably the most talented supporting cast that Lamar Jackson's ever had.
Yeah.
With OBJ, he's pretty healthy from what I've read, and Zay Flowers was a great addition, and I really like the pieces that they've added there. And Pittsburgh's pretty hyped up for Kenny Pickett. He did some fun things last year, so really the team that I think I'm looking at, a team that I might be willing to count out more than any is Cleveland. They're one of those teams that just seems like they're an accident waiting to happen. So we'll see what happens with that division. But I would say Cincy's the favorite, but Baltimore could have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's got, their talent as well. I understand what Ryan means, though, because it is like a car crash. It just seems like history takes over with that franchise whenever they get a chance to, and everything just kind of comes crashing down. So it'll be interesting to see. I know for me, when I would talk about the North, I will say that the threat obviously is Cincinnati. Another threat that I see is Baltimore for sure. I was scared shitless last year when it was raining and it's fourth quarter and we're losing. And obviously we had a really crappy half against Baltimore. That's another loss that we could have had that, last season. And obviously Josh Allen and the guys were able to adjust second half and pull it out. But if it wasn't for, a silly Lamar throw in the end zone, red zone, late in game, then, obviously that could have been a fourth loss for the Bills last year. So I won't put anything against and past Baltimore because, again, I do think that their new OC will at least unlock a little bit of a different dynamic from Lamar and let him sit from the pocket and dissect. One of the, most common misnomenclatures about Lamar Jackson is that he can't throw from the pocket. That is just completely just not true. It's completely false. So I'll be watching them very closely to see if he levels up, so to speak. Now, the AFC West, we know all about the AFC West in respects to the leader of that division. And it's funny, fellas, because I was running a little parallel in my head today with them. I mean, the AFC West is Chiefs Kingdom, and they're starting to look a lot like the Pats were with Brady, like they win the division. I think it's 7 straight years now, or it might be 8 straight with Andy Reid that they've won the division. It's a crazy little streak that they've got going on right now. And I'm really just wondering, when is anybody else ready to participate and challenge these guys? We all know that famous stat. Patrick Mahomes has never played on the road for a playoff game. It sounds crazy to say that out loud, but it is true. He has never been on the road. He's never had to leave the confines of Missouri, outside of going to the Super Bowl, which is just so wild to me. Is there anybody, Ryan, in the AFC West that can stand up and challenge the Kansas City Chiefs? It looks like they're getting ready to battle. It looks like the AFC South, I think. No, I'm sorry. Is it the South? I'll have to check that. Ryan, what do you have for the Kansas City Chiefs? Is there anybody that's ready to challenge these guys? Because it's weird to me that nobody, the Chargers every year on paper look like they're ready, and then they're just not ready. And they actually cross over the AFC West crossover with the NFC North this year. So that should be really interesting. What is going on in the West with the Chiefs, Brian? Because I can't seem to find anybody that's ready to take on these guys. I can't.
No, it's a very good comparison. It's a fair comparison that Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes have kind of taken the mantle from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And if we're talking who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC, I think we know the answer to that question. It's the Buffalo Bills. But looking at the division, I do think it is the Chargers. And you know what? There is a move that the Chargers made that I don't think they get credit for this offseason. I thought it was one of the best coaching hires that a team has made in quite some time, and it was hiring Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
Dallas fired Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore was available for about 8 minutes. It seemed like as soon as Kellen Moore was fired, he was hired by the Chargers. It was so quick that most people didn't even get the chance, myself included, to digest that he was even fired. It's like, that guy was fired? Why? What reason would Dallas have to fire this guy when Dallas's offense was so productive and Tony Pollard had a breakout year and so forth? But I think Kellen Moore is going to do and work wonders for Justin Herbert. And I really love this offense. I mean, Austin Eckler, outside of Christian McCaffrey, and, you could debate Saquon and Josh Jacobs, but Austin Eckler is one of the best, if not the best, running back in the National Football League right now. Mm-hmm. And the Chargers have also had a great group of receivers these last few years. They added to that with the rookie out of TCU, Quentin Johnston. And, of course, I really feel confident that Kellen Moore is going to make that offense one that scores points and scores points quickly. And if that style of offense that he ran in Dallas translates to the Chargers, I think the Chargers could really be a sleeper team to win that division and be a threat to the Chiefs. I don't look at
Win
Denver.
Win the division? Really?
I think they could. I think they could.
Yeah.
I really do. It's a bold take. It's a bold take, but I look at the weapons that the Chargers have, and I look at the fact that the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill. It didn't really matter. But then the Chiefs, before mentioned, lost Juju Smith-Schuster. And now they're in this developmental phase with the wide receiver position. And Travis Kelce's 33 years old. I know he looks invisible right now, but eventually age is not just a number. Father Time's undefeated. He's will undefeated. Add up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I love the way that the Chargers are built. And, I don't think Denver is going to be that team year one with Sean Payton that'll just burst onto the scene. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for them. And I think they're further along than what they think. And the Raiders are just, I think the Raiders right now are a mess. They franchise tagged their best player, and I just don't see them making much progress moving forward. So I'd say the Chargers could be the biggest threat to taking that division from the Chiefs.
DT, I mean, you hear Ryan talking about the Chargers every year. It seems like we're ready to crown the Chargers, and maybe not crown them, but at least wait for them to grow up and mature. And I don't care if it was from Schottenheimer on down, bad luck with LT and Phillip Rivers. They just never seem to get it all together. They never do. And it's just, I just have a tough time, hitching my wagon to them, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I'll obviously say they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs, but I'm not going far to say that they got the division yet. Those are great points, for sure. But, our hope as Bills fans, right, is for these teams that are getting better to, just to kind of knock themselves. The Chiefs down. Yeah, exactly. Kind of beat each other up as we go. And you made some great points about the Chargers. Their roster is stacked top to bottom. Really Herbert's due, and has all the weapons and has everything he needs to be a successful quarterback. He's butting into it defensively.
Derwin James.
Khalil Mack was one of the top NFL top 100, probably number one, in his prime a couple of years ago. So it's going to be interesting. I'd like to see them, at least get one from the Chiefs this year as they, and they split. But I'll dig in a little more on the Broncos. I mean, it can't get worse, for the Broncos, right? Like with and all this stuff coming out about Hackett being horrible, it was obvious on paper, and watching it that, it was a bad coach team. Russell Wilson was hurt. Whatever the case was, the Broncos team is solid. They got some budding stars on defense as well. And, when they run a decent enough offense to get it done. So I hope, like you said, a little cannibalization within it, but we kind of thought that last year and it was completely opposite. It was just all Chiefs. So hopefully probability swings back through and, they do eat each other up a little bit. You can't get worse for the Broncos, so they're going to come out and, just naturally at least get back to 500. One of those wins hopefully coming, against the Chiefs or the Chargers. And same goes with the Raiders. They're right around. They're not going to be, 4-12. They're going to work up and be closer to that 500 team. They always are. Mediocre's their middle name. So definitely talent there too. We can hope for cannibalization. When you really talk about the Chargers out loud, though, damn, they are good. But we just haven't seen it materialize yet. And I just say probability the Broncos can't get worse than last year. So you're going to see natural improvement there. And Raiders, you'll still see them right around that 500 mark. So not dethroning the Chiefs yet, but I think there'll be a little more cannibalization, if you will, in that division.
I'm looking for them to eat each other up because just the fact that I mean, like, when you say that stat out loud and you say that he's never gotten on a bus, he's never gone to the airport, he's never had to sleep in an uncomfortable bed the night before a playoff game. Like, are you effing kidding me? Like, that's how I feel when I think about Patrick Mahomes and that stat with never being on the road. And it's just like, enough is enough. Like, I said it last year, I said it last year, DT, like, let this guy be uncomfortable for a weekend. Let him have to, prepare in an uncomfortable place, drive up to the Ralph or another stadium and hear the crowd and people throwing eggs at the bus and you see the tailgates setting up. He's never had to go through any of that, man. He's right in the comfort of the confines of his own home, and everything is just nice and cushy. And I want to see him face some adversity. I know that he's great. I understand he's a 2-time now Super Bowl MVP. I understand that he's got the world at his feet, and watching the quarterback kind of encapsulates that because he does care. And one of the things that I took away from the quarterback, that Netflix series, was that he cares about football a lot. I just want to see him go through a little adversity. He's had such a nice, easy, smooth road, and it's just like, I'm so sick of that shit. I really am. Like, I want to see him face some, like, adversity. I really do. Like, he's had such a smooth ride, and I don't like it. I just don't like it.
And all those boys at the ESPN roundtable that weren't picking the Bills to win the East. Well, this big bad East they got coming up is playing the West this year, as we know full and well. So cannibalization within that division, and then all these great teams coming out of the AFC East, they're also going to have to face these guys too. So let's ride on that as well.
Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun because, again, the AFC West is just an interesting division. They have, they've set the standard. I mean, nobody has really been able to really deal with them. Now, you guys had talked about Payton. Both of you did. I wanted to get your takes on Payton because what it seemed like to me, Ryan, was that Sean was either one, he's trying to give his guys ultimate confidence, and he wants them to know that, listen, you guys didn't fuck up as much as everybody else is saying that you did. It was really these coaches, these bad coaches that you had leading you guys. Or number two, he's trying to soften the landing for his own ass just in case things don't work out. Now, the Waltons are paying him a bunch of money, so he's not going to get fired after 1 year anyway. So I don't know why he would find that necessary to do. But it was interesting that, he kind of laid into the fact that Nathaniel Hackett, he said the worst coaching performance in NFL history. And like that way, he said 20 dirty hands in the whole pot. Like it was pretty scathing. So it's either he was trying to dump and heap confidence into his guys, or he was trying to make sure that you agree on either take, Ryan?
Yeah, I agree with both of those takes. I could see it from both perspectives.
Okay, both of them.
Okay. Yeah, in regard to what you were saying, I agree with the latter. I think what Sean Payton is doing, and this is an interesting thought. I've had this thought ever since he made these statements about Nate Hackett. I think Sean Payton knows that this is year one. He's kind of inheriting, he's inheriting a roster. He's inheriting a little bit of a mess compared to last season. Russell Wilson had one of the worst year he's ever had as a quarterback, bar none, and not even close. And kind of setting himself up, as you mentioned, for a fall, but I think setting himself up to the fan base as well that, hey, if we're not that good this year, you guys got to know I'm gonna blow this thing up, and that's what I think he's going to do. If they don't make the playoffs, which is very likely, he's going to take that team and he's going to blow it to smithereens. I mean, that team is going to be completely gutted, and the team has a lot of talent on it. Jerry Jeudy is a rising star. Cortland Sutton's a good receiver. I love the rookie running back, Javonte Williams. I'm hoping he can come back from that ACL injury that he suffered as well. They got some defensive stalwarts there that have been there for quite some time. And Sean Payton's one of those guys that it's his way or no way. And that's why they brought him in there.
So he's a Parcells disciple, that's the way that he rolls.
Right. If it doesn't work, it as well as I do. He's going to blow it up. And he's kind of setting this up for, hey, Denver fan base, Broncos fans, Broncos Nation, we're riding a rebuild pretty soon if things don't work out. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, DT, I'm not sure if I'm not sure, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. You know what I mean? I'm just, I was interested when I heard the comments because I knew that most coaches, Nathaniel Hapker's right. DT, like the coaches don't talk about each other that way. He was absolutely right when he had this little rebuttal and he addressed the media like they all live in a glass house, so they don't want to make their jobs harder for each other because of the fact that one day they could be in that position on the other side. So I think that Hackett was right with that way, that he kind of did break a little bit of a code, and I was trying to figure out the reasons why. And to me, DT, it was that either he was trying to infuse energy into his guys and let them know that they weren't the problem, or he was trying to let them know that, don't blame me if this shit doesn't work this year, because I had a lot of dirty dishes to clean up. So the kitchen will get clean eventually.
100%. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett was just a pawn in this. He had to be. He was the fall guy. Had to be the name that was used. And like you said, there was definitely deeper meaning and bigger moves to this than just him calling out Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett is basically meaningless in this. He was just the fall guy in the pawn. So in the Nickel City crew, but at 330 Linden, we got some Bronco gang blood in here, as you know, Rob.
Yeah, so, I know.
The Bronco rug in the kitchen that I make sure I spill water on every time I fill up my Bill's water bottle. But it's it'll be interesting. And like you said, I wish them the best. I hope they're better, for the strict fact to cannibalize the West.
Yeah, I really do too, because I really am sick of seeing Kansas City have such an easy ride. As we shift and we start to wrap up on the AFC South, before we give our predictions for the AFC, I mean, listen, fellas, this is one of those situations where do not throw up on yourself, Jacksonville. Like literally, like you found your success. I know that they went to the AFC Championship game, a few years back with Marone, and then that was the last you heard of the Jaguars, and then we had the whole Urban Meyer, debacle down there in South Florida. Listen, don't throw up on yourselves. You've got a prime opportunity right now to win this division, and in all honesty, they're facing the NFC West, the NFC South. There's no reason that Jacksonville can't win this division if they put their minds to it and they make sure that they're prepared the right way. One thing I do know, and I want to caution, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Ryan. I mean, nobody sent the memo to Tennessee, number one, because Vrabel is a Belichick disciple. He is not going to roll over for anybody. He's not going to show his belly for anybody, let him scratch his belly. He is going to fight. He's got King Henry back there. I know they picked up D-Hop. Obviously they look like they're trying to, maneuver and transition the quarterback position, but they're not ready yet. Tannehill's going to trot out there week one. Tennessee is not going to roll over. They will hit you in the mouth every single Sunday. They will make an ugly game out of every single week. Jacksonville better be on the P's and Q's, man, or they will literally throw up on themselves, because this is the division. To me, it's their division. Their division combined with the NFC South. There's no reason that they can't win it. They just have to apply themselves the right way and stay focused.
I agree completely. I actually look at Jacksonville as one of the rising teams in the National Football League. I really do. I came away watching the playoff game between the Jags and Chiefs thinking to myself, Jacksonville is going to be a player in 2023, 2024. They're going to be in the upper echelon of the AFC. It is their division to lose. It's only theirs to hoist and win. But to your point, you touched on it with Tennessee. Tennessee's a stingy team. They're an old school team in terms of no turnovers. Ryan Tannehill is one of the most bland quarterbacks that you could ever put out on a football field. And it works for them, right? I mean, it works for Tennessee. Yeah. They got Derrick Henry, who is still doing his thing. The tread is a little bit worn on those tires, but he's still got some miles left on the car. It's not the miles on the car. It's the amount of miles that the car has left. And it looks like he's still got some miles left. And they add DeAndre Hopkins, who has been one of the better receivers and is a game-breaking talent. So I look at that division and I see a rivalry for sure between Jacksonville and Tennessee. But I think Jacksonville definitely has a leg up on the competition. Indianapolis is a total mess. Jim Irsay is one of the, colorful owners that there is out there in professional sports. A strange guy.
You can call him weird. You can call him weird, Ryan. You're a Nickel City crew. You had the crew.
Yeah. What's he doing with the whale? What's the whale situation he's got going right now?
I have no idea, man. I have
just
no
needs to
idea.
pay Jonathan Taylor and just do his job of staying out of the day-to-day operations. Let the
Play with your
GM, let the
guitars or
coach
something.
do that, but he's not. And that's because he's Jim Irsay. He's got the Jerry Jones, light syndrome, I guess. So,
yes, he does.
It is what it is with the Colts. I think Anthony Richardson is somebody that is a very intriguing prospect, what he brings to the table, but that whole team is just a raw product that they're nowhere near establishing themselves. And I think Houston's the same way. They're very raw as well. They're very young. It'll be 4 or 5 years before those teams are very competitive. And by then, I think Jacksonville will have already have a really stout identity. I love Trevor Lawrence. I think he does not get the credit that he deserves for the year that he had last year. And I really feel Jacksonville's on the rise. Doug Peterson, was fired from Philly. And a lot of people thought he wouldn't be able to find his footing in the league again as a head coach. And he has. And he deserves a lot of credit for that.
DT, I mean, what do you think about this division? Because, I mean, there's no way that Jacksonville shouldn't be able to take a hold of it. Like there's everything is right in front of them, basically is what I'm trying to say. Everything is right there for them to take.
They're lucky in this regard of the previous 3 divisions we just spoke about. There's not really a clear-cut, toilet team in any of those divisions. The Raiders were probably the closest to it, and like I said, they're probably going to be right around 500. So in this division, you're probably looking at 2 toilet teams, if you will, this year, as the Colts were kind of up in the upper echelon a few years, and that they fell from grace pretty quickly. Houston's still very far away, as they're doing everything they can to build, but they're getting the first pick in the draft every year. So you would hope they get some talent through there, right? So they're Jacksonville and Tennessee are blessed with that. They're halfway there already with 2 cupcakes, at the bottom of that division. I would like, Jacksonville is loaded up. Calvin Ridley's coming back. Their defense is stout. Trevor Lawrence did have a good year, but man, 16 couldn't motivate me to make a sandwich, guys. Like, come on, dude. That dude's gonna be like your franchise guy coming out of the tunnel, like leading you down the stretch and going on the road in a divisional game to Kansas City or Buffalo or whatever and pulling out a win. Like, it's just tough for me to see right now, even though the Jacksonville are kind of the Bills' kryptonite lately. With them, every single time they play, they score freaking 3 points. Right. So, that's something to debate too in the 9:30 London game. We'll see him again, but I just can't get my head around, Trevor Lawrence. He's a talented player, but just that leadership and moxie and grit you need to be, a champion in this league. I don't see from him. Yeah, they're loaded, but Tennessee might be the kryptonite to that hard, gritty team that doesn't have, that Vrabel's not going to let up. And, they go in as a favorite and get their ass kicked because Tennessee's there just hard-nosing them. So it's nobody really scares me out of here. Now I'm kind of cheering for Tennessee to knock the Jaguars down a notch and not let them be a powerhouse going into the playoffs. But it just they don't got the moxie down there in the South, Rob. They don't got the moxie.
Ryan, he said that Trevor Lawrence couldn't motivate him to make a sandwich. I can't even get a ham sandwich out of DT. I can't get some cheese and some mustard, a little bit of mayo. I mean,
come on. I love sandwiches.
No, I mean, stick up for your boy Ryan before we wrap up, because you said he had a great season. I mean, he did have a good season. It was kind of a tale of 2 halves. It was half and half. And then it seems like when they got back from London, he started to play different football and he started to play better football. But that's a great line, DT. That's going to go down in the archives. He can't even motivate me to make a sandwich. I like that.
Well, you know what? I'll say that, maybe there is a point to that. And maybe it's to a point where, he's going into his 3rd year into the league. And I think maybe there might be a lack of a motivation, aspect to his leadership ability, because he hasn't necessarily earned his stripes yet. He hasn't led them to that heightened precipice yet, to where they haven't beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. They haven't beaten a Buffalo or a Cincinnati or anything like that to get that big win. And I think Trevor Lawrence, to that point, is a signature win away in the playoffs from being in that upper echelon mentioned with, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. I think there's nothing really that talent-wise that tells me that Trevor Lawrence can't get there. It's just that seeing is believing, and if they're able to put themselves in that category with a signature win in the playoffs this year, I think that could really do a lot to boost the superstar status of Trevor Lawrence. And it just goes to show you, I think the biggest takeaway with Jacksonville is just how piss poor of a head coaching job actually Urban Meyer did. That goes down in history. Sean Payton needs to correct himself. That goes down in history as one of the worst head coaching jobs that anyone's ever had, maybe the worst. So,
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Sean Payton might have to take his statement back on Nate Hackett. I'm no Nate Hackett, defender at all, but Urban Meyer might have one-upped him in that regard.
Kicking kickers and stuff, kicking punters or whatever he was doing with Josh Lambo. He was definitely full of himself and getting on those clubs and getting himself in trouble. So I will agree on that. I mean, it'll be interesting to see for sure. I definitely will give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt because just there is something about the grit. There is something about attitude. There is something about the way that you approach your job. And, Tennessee, again, they did not get the memo that this is supposed to be Jacksonville's year. They will hit you very hard every single week and they will make it tough on you. So that's just the way that their coach is made. And oftentimes, we've talked about before, oftentimes, you're a reflection of your coach. A lot of times that's the way that it's been. I've talked about that with the Bills. You're a reflection of your leadership. And, Vrabel is a tough guy. He's tough, hard-nosed, and Jeffrey Simmons is tough, hard-nosed, and, Derrick Henry's tough, hard-nosed, and that team plays that well as well. So we'll see how it goes. All right, fellas, I will ask for division winners. I will hold your feet to the fire. Yes, if you are wrong at the end of the year, I will make fun of you. I will tease you on Twitter, all of that, or X, whatever they call it now, Ryan. Give me your AFC South division winner. And we will go round robin all the way to the AFC East as we close up tonight. Who is winning the South for Ryan Thomas? Again, check him out. We appreciate him joining us tonight. We did not have too many issues or anything like that. It was definitely much better with the connection. So we appreciate you again, Ryan, joining us. Check him out at Ryan Thomas Take. Again, it's the Ryan Thomas Take Sports podcast. Check him out for sure because he's doing great things. He's always posting fun topics and fun questions and cool highlights, all that other good stuff. So check him out at Ryan Thomas Take. Give me your AFC South winner, man.
Thank you for the plug. Thank you for having me on. Of course, AFC South winner, I think, is the Jags. I think it is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I do think Tennessee will be right there. I think it'll be close between those two, but I see Jacksonville taking it. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a full season of consistency, to your point, Rob, where, first half was not so great. Second half, much, much better. After the London game, oddly enough, it was like a home away from home for them.
That is their second home.
right, where he was able to kind of come into his own. And I think Jacksonville's going to take that division for sure.
AFC South, DT. Holla them, dump truck. What you got?
I'm going to go with the Titans just to shake it up.
Come on. You're stealing my material, man. Come on.
Probability betting says Jaguars. I after that take I had on Trevor Lawrence, I got to go Titans.
You can't tell me that he can't motivate you to make a ham sandwich in the kitchen or a turkey sandwich and then pick him to win the division. So I'm going to leave with you on that one. You stole my thunder on that one. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I just think that attitude reflects leadership. I think that the Titans are just a tougher team. And Jacksonville's got, Calvin Ridley. I know that we've got a draft coming up, DT. I will spill some cookies right now. I am going to draft that man. I don't know when I haven't been in a fantasy football league in at least a decade. So I'm going to definitely be a fish out of water. But whenever it's appropriate to draft that man, I'm going to draft him. I watched a video of him doing a drill. And Zay Jones did the same.
Zay Jones, I saw that.
And I could have swore that the camera was on fast forward. You know what I mean, Brian? Like, you know how you can.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Your podcast, and you can put it to like 2 point or 2.5, like, and then the guy's voice is going crazy fast. I'm like, is this the same exact video? Like, and I'm looking at the people in the background to make sure that it wasn't altered. So Calvin really looks ridiculous. I will give it to Tennessee just off the fact of their head coach and the way that they coach their team. But boy, I can't wait to see that guy play football again after his little gambling snafu. AFC North, Ryan Thomas, our guest. Who is taking the division in the North?
I think it will be the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this division will be close as well between Cincy and Baltimore. I can see Baltimore taking it as well, to my point earlier, but I do believe Joe Burrow will be wrapped like a mummy come season's end, and the Cincinnati Bengals will be the AFC North Division champs. And I think that division's fun. It's an interesting division, but
it is.
I expect Cincinnati at the top, and once again Cleveland at the bottom.
What do you have, DT? What do you have for us, Dump Truck?
Rob, we've been doing this a long time, Rob, and I feel like I know you pretty well, and I feel like we're doing the same thing again here. I'm going with the Ravens, and I think you are too.
No. I'm going to give it. Listen, you go with the Ravens. I am going to give it to Joe Cool. The reason I'm going to give it to Joe Cool is because, I just think that there's a chance that as long as he's healthy, and this is all obviously anytime that you're talking about this stuff, by the way, Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, injuries, they throw everything out of the window. So as long as he's healthy, I think that they can come out with it. They just got too much talent in respects to the offensive side of the football. Everything is new in Baltimore, and everything is new. So sometimes new works great, and sometimes it takes a little bit of acclimation time to kind of get acclimated to everything, and the process is a little bit longer than you expected. So I know Monken is in there. I'm excited. I love when Lamar Jackson throws from the pocket and he gets a chance to debunk some of those myths that he can't throw from the pocket. Excuse me. I just think it'll take a little bit longer. It won't be right away. J.K. Dobbins is acting like a weirdo and won't come to camp, won't come to practice. Like you're not going to get paid more. Like running backs, they're just it just seems so weird right now. So just come to work, get your money. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Ravens, but I will put my faith in Joe Cool right now. The AFC West, Ryan Thomas, take Sports Podcast. What do you have for the West? I know you're going to say it, and everybody's waiting for you to say it.
No, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it even keeled. I think the Chargers are a threat to the Chiefs more than any other team has been in recent years as far as the division title. I'll say that. That's kind of. I don't think the Chargers will take the division, but I think the Chargers are the biggest threat to the Chiefs in recent memory within that division title. I love the additions they made, but I do see the Chiefs taking the division. I do think, though, come season's end, the Chiefs will be more vulnerable than they've ever been.
That'd be great.
In regards to that. So I think the Chiefs will take it, and I think it'll be by a slim margin, wins and losses wise. The Chargers will be right on their coattails.
Dump Truck, will Patrick Mahomes have to get on a plane and go play a freaking away playoff game? Please? Can he get on a plane? Can he get on a plane and come?
As much as I want to, I'm chalking here. Chiefs Kingdom, Red Kingdom.
I'm so sick of this
year
shit.
we get hyped up about this cannibalization, and
I'm so sick of this shit, DT. I just want him to have shitty. I want him to have shitty room service one night. Can you have shitty room service right before the playoffs? Can we get a Jordan flu game where somebody brings him a bad pizza or somebody brings him some bad wings if he's in Buffalo? Like, come on. Or what is it in Cincinnati? They do that little spaghetti thing, spaghetti and chili. Can somebody give him some bad food before a playoff game? I mean, if you're at home, you don't have to worry about any of that shit because you're at home and you're in the confines. Can we put him on the road? Somebody put this man on a plane and make him go and sleep in a bed other than his own before a playoff game. I've got to go with you guys. The Chiefs will win the division again. It sucks, but they're going to win it again. Just too much firepower. Now, one of the thoughts that I did pick up on earlier, fellas, you both had mentioned it. There are some different weapons. Sky Moore and Tony is hurt, and he's going to be agent, but he's never been a number one receiver before ever. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I know that we all ate crow last year with Tyreek Hill. They won a Super Bowl after giving them up, but with Juju gone and some guys stepping up into a role they've never been in before, it will be very interesting. So I'll keep and put a pin in on that, Ryan, because I know you said that the Chargers will close the gap a little bit. So I'll be watching on that. Yep. As we wrap up the AFC East, gentlemen, drum roll, the division that we all care about here at Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, who is going to hoist the AFC East division crown? Ryan Thomas.
Well, there's a song back in the day. It's called Here Comes the Boom. Buffalo is bringing the boom.
I like it. I like it.
I feel that this is the Bills division, and they're the beast of the East.
Yeah.
I think the Bills, with their consistency of continuity, head coach Allen, Brandon Beane and company, of course, I feel like the mojo around the Bills is just such a force that none of the other teams in the division have. And I think that that's an advantage. I really do. I love the additions that they made with Kincaid. I feel like he's going to provide a different wrinkle to the offense. I think James Cook is going to have his coming out party as well. He's a fantasy sleeper running back for me in 2023 as well. And for all the fantasy football folks out there, I mean, what Bill would you not really want to draft on this team? They're all going to be productive. I think there's only one football, but I think this team is going to be very, very fun to watch. Another season, a lot of new additions that I really like. And I will say, I kind of provided my division winners as well as the teams that I think will finish in second, kind of close. I do think the Jets are the second place team in the division. Most people would say Miami, but I just have so many questions over the playing future of one Tua Tagovailoa, and I really think that the Jets have a better defense as well. So I'm going to go with the Jets as the second runner-up to the Buffalo Bills in the East.
DT, close us out, man. We tried 3 straight weeks. I tried to keep us under an hour, and we cannot stay under an hour. That means that there's
That's
nothing.
All right.
That means there's nothing.
That's all right. A little longer
content.
Drive for our listeners.
Yeah, that means that there's nothing but juicy content, man.
They got to tune back in on the way back home from work now. Get it. We're messing with the algorithm. I love it. So no, you know who we're going with. Nickel City. We're staying true. I mean, we would say they weren't going to win it if we really thought that, but who the hell's thinking that? Let's go. Let's lock in 13-3 last year with a better roster coming into this year. And, 17's not finished. 17's pissed. 17's ready to rock. And this is going to be, it starts off Monday night against this Jets team, and it's going to be a steamroll, I think, out of it. You got to think maybe 1 or 2 division losses just because that's the way of the nature. But I love the Bills dominating this division again. The hype is away from the Bills, which we talked about, but reality is going to set in real quick. You see the spread on this game's pretty close. One person that doesn't give into the hype is Vegas, baby. And you're going to start seeing 7, 8, 9, 10-point spreads from the Billy Boys the rest of the season after what they do week 1. So buckle in for that. Easy division champs.
Easy, DT.
Yeah. Easy.
Okay. No, listen, you guys have way more bravado than me. Listen, you already know what I am here at Nickel City Crew. I try to be the voice of reason. I try to be your conscience. I try to make sure that everybody stays level-headed. The Bills are going to win the division, number one. I am so sick of hearing from Miami Dolphins fans on Twitter. I'm so sick of hearing from the Jets fans who are getting ready to pump out their chests and all this other stuff. Listen, the Bills are going to win the division. The reason they're going to win the division is because we have more talent than every other team. I'm nervous sometimes about Sean McDermott. I know I talk a lot of shit about him, but I think that he has something to prove. There's never a better situation to be in than when you have something to prove, a little chip on your shoulder, so to speak. He has removed all doubt. He has removed all cloaks. He has removed all excuses. Everything is on him for that defense. He needs to at least maintain what him and Leslie Frazier achieved these last few years throughout their tenure, at the least, if not take it to another level. So I expect Sean McDermott to be everything that he was built to be when he was hired as the Bills head coach years ago. I think he's going to be I think that he's just going to be locked in, to be completely honest. Ken Dorsey, again, you only get one chance to say it was your first time doing something. I'm hoping that he learned from some of his mistakes last year, including the playoff game, and he fields a better offense, to be honest. Don't force Josh to throw the ball down the field all of the time. Make sure that you're taking some of those underneath throws as well. I know that the injury played a part in that as well, so we'll just all knock on wood for the health and safety of number 17. As long as he stays healthy, I don't see a way that the Bills don't win this division, to be honest. So it'll be interesting, fellas. I appreciate you guys taking time out tonight to join me. As always, please spread love, not hate. Join us again next week. Can't wait. Hit him with a Go Bills, Ryan. Hit him with a Go Bills, dump truck. I mean, hit him with a Go Bills, man.
Go
The Beast Conference.
I can't wait. The Beast Conference. I kind of like that, man. Trevor Lawrence, man. You won't even motivate me to make a sandwich. I like that. That's the lasting line. I can't wait to hear that back, man. Enjoy the night tonight. I appreciate you guys, fellas. You taking time of your night. I really do appreciate you guys.